they were going into communities and they were teaching non-contact boxing skills to engage with youths. And so I thought, well, let's see if that would work. And I run it permanently, really. So the audience spoke to local police. They invited me to a meeting. A really nice house. Didn't know what I was doing there. Pitched the idea that we had of starting up a sport-based boxing club for young children, 7 to 12-year-old. And I kind of thought that was a good age, really, because we might have a chance of nipping in the bud antisocial behaviour. If you get them young enough, you know, and by the time they're sort of 15, 16, they might really, you know, pick the path that they're on. But if we can get them young enough and get them some confidence, get them to develop their own little personalities in a way, and we might be able to sort of prevent them falling into a criminal lifestyle and maybe make something better of themselves. So that's what we did, 7 to 12. There happened to be a councillor there, lovely lady, Nikki Aiken, who's a met her or know her, heard of her, Westminster City Council. Said, Alan, I like the idea, it's just what we need, we might be able to fund you. And they did, they funded us ever since, really. We're really supportive. Yeah, so
I didn't know how to box before I came, so everything I've learned. I love it here.
My name is Nizar. I am part of the boxing club.
I started because of my son. He was getting bullied when he was going to school, and I started bringing him down. Like, my girlfriend found this little boxing club down here, and I started bringing him down, and he started really enjoying it. So it was kind of only me bringing him down all the time, like every week, and Alan could see that I was coming down all the time, and he said, well, why don't you come and teach down here? With, like, if I send you on a couple of courses, why don't you come down and help us teach? You're down here anyway, every week. And I said, well, yeah, but one problem, I'm epileptic. You know, I've got to tell you this before anything. And he said, no problem, not a problem, you know, as long as you're not going to be having fits every time you come down here. And I said, well, no, it'll probably be beneficial to me as well, because I get all the stress and, you know, of everyday life out when I come down here, you know. So I think I've been doing it now 2.5 years, and I think Friday night is what I look forward to now.
When I was quite young, I lived in South London, an area called Bermondsey, and I came across the Oxford and Bermondsey Boxing Club, and there was a particularly good trainer there at the time, Reg Brown, and he taught me how to box, and I boxed for the Oxford and Bermondsey Club for a while. But the things I learned at the club, apart from boxing, just stayed with me for life, really. Discipline and sort of, I'd say, gentlemanly conduct.
I've been coaching for 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, I think for me it's coming on 3 or 4 years. Yeah, since about February or March 2014. So, yeah.
I needed the physical exercise and I was getting really bored in the house. There was nothing else to do around here, so.
So why did you come and decide to do boxing?
Well, mainly because my dad made me do it.
Well, I want to continue until I'm a coach and hopefully inspire more children to take up the sport of boxing. I hope one day to set up my own boxing club and just help other people.
Got children at the club at the moment who have had issues with bullying at school, and parents tell me that having come to this club for a little while, their children are more confident. Not only confident to stand up for themselves, but confident to talk about what's happening at school. And that's a big thing. I think some children are prone to holding things in, and they need to be able to express it at the right way at the right time. We've had young children stay on at the club who've become young coaches now. they've stayed on, so they've developed themselves in that way, and they also get evidence for their Duke of Edinburgh award schemes at this club. 2 of our lads went on to become employed, and one in fact has gone on to become an actor.
Okay, great, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
When people think of Westminster, they think of the Houses of Parliament, they think of all the West End shops and theatres. What they don't realise is that there are so many young people who live in Westminster who live in high need. It's actually the 4th highest level of child poverty of any borough in the entire of the UK. And a lot of people don't realise how residential Westminster is. People don't know that right round the corner from, say, Marylebone High Street, you've got Church Street. And Church Street is the most deprived ward in the entire of London. And so for children and young people that are growing up there, they haven't got a lot of the opportunities the people who are living in, say, neighbouring Maida Vale might have. So at Dream Arts, what we try and do is give them a chance to express themselves, a chance to make friends and build relationships with their peers and with adults, and give them a chance to do something positive and make positive life choices.
I would say it's beneficial, one, because we're the only organisation within Westminster that is fusing creativity and therapy.
The pollution spread across the planet.
The plastic is affecting nature that our didn't care.
So many have left.
One of the biggest challenge is money. Young people want to make money, so going out and doing kind of recreational stuff is also taking a back seat because it's about economics at the moment. Even a lot of the crime, be it even the gang-related crime, people would say it's about it's a race issue, or it's a they don't know what to do themselves issue. A lot of it is money, it's economics, you know. And we're living in a borough where a very rich person could be across the road, and you want that, so you're going to find a way to get that. With Dream Arts, we also face economical difficulties with fundings being cut left, right and centre. And we have to continually find creative ways to generate income, as are the young people finding creative ways to generate income, be that functionally or dysfunctionally.
Introducing a tale of two cities. So Westminster has a thriving business sector. We've got the royal family right over there. We've got Parliament over there on the left. And whilst being the 4th most deprived borough in London, there's a real contrast going on, and something that obviously has an impact on young people living in this borough. We've got some of the largest income and wealth and health disparities in the capital. Westminster has the 3rd highest level of child poverty in London, with a year-on-year expenditure on youth services being cut. I guess you can say that those connected to this borough have their work cut out. But let's focus on the positives this evening. I'd like you to welcome young Westminster Foundation member Dream Arts, who transform young lives through arts and therapy. The story, all the lyrics, music and characters and choreography has been created by young people themselves. Please put your hands together for Dream Arts.
therapy can have a stigma with young and old, people from all different walks of life, but I will do therapy in the corridor if I have to, or on the estate block, if it means that I can provide a space for young people to have a supportive ear and a supportive other person to process what they're going through, so that they have better choices on how to react to situations, rather than just doing the default fight or flight. And we know what fight or flight can look like in our community.
I used to not like doing extravagant things around other people, but it has improved my confidence. I never used to like to act because I thought that other people would judge me, and people make you feel welcome, and they're not trying to put pressure on you, and it's not like school where you have to do this and you have to follow a certain rule. Well, you do have to follow rules, but as in we made our own play and we got to use our imagination.
The biggest achievement of Dream Arts is to be able to get young people to work with others. Because the skills that Dream Arts develops, they can be used anywhere, at home, in school, in any workplace. And I suppose I'm proudest of the fact that young people that haven't been with us for a number of years come back and tell us how important it was to be part of Dream Arts when they were growing up. It gave them a place and a space where they could be themselves, where they could try something new and discover something about themselves that stayed with them for the rest of their life. And that's what makes me proudest about Dream Arts.
Homelessness in England has gone up massively in the last 7 years, with over 50% increase. Westminster Borough, where the Queen lives, is the richest borough. It also has the highest number of rough sleepers. I met Simon in the streets of Victoria one afternoon. He mentioned to me that he would be happy to talk to me about his situation in being homeless. He asked me not to show his face. I spent 2 days with him to see what life was like for him and how he deals with the difficulties that occur on the streets.
I've been on and off the streets for about at least 20 years, on and off the streets, yeah. The longest time I've ever spent homeless was 8 years. Recently, because of this situation with a relationship breakdown and a loss of then a job and accommodation, and then suffering with emotional difficulties and depression and other particular situations for just over a year. It's different every time. The streets change every time, the people change every time, attitudes change every time, you know. Life is its own creature, it's got its own habits, it's got its own way of doing things, and you have to just kind of try to learn to go with it, to live with it, you know, to understand it. Because it can turn around and bite you just as quick as an angry dog, you know.
As many rough sleepers, Simon is a veteran. He served in Afghanistan and that changed his life.
For every poppy, there's a fallen soldier. You know? They say for every poppy that's grown, there's a fallen soldier to be remembered. So, when I was in the army, was a good time to begin with. I was strong. I had a bright future ahead of me. I had plenty of friends. I thought I knew where my life was going. When we got out there, everything was going reasonably all right. You know, I was all looking forward to the parade at the end of it all and getting our medals and then being able to move on. But one day, we was out and we was approached by a strange vehicle, and long story short, the people inside of the vehicle made to escape from the vehicle and the vehicle itself exploded, and a friend of mine were caught up in this explosion, and it caused us several quite serious physical injuries as far as being able to continue in the job was concerned. And so basically we were flown off to a hospital unit and taken care of until we could be discharged and then released like back out into the community. Your whole life has changed then in some ways. Now you've got to try to fend for yourself. You're being told that you're entitled to certain particular things, you know, certain rights, certain housing, certain money, certain respect, certain way of life. So bag and boots out on the street, you know, life's going by, you're just trying to watch what's going on. A month goes by, another month goes by, another month goes by. Still nothing's happening at the local homeless centres or whatever. You're still waiting for housing. You're filling out so many different pieces of paper, you almost, you know, you can't be bothered to read them anymore. It's not a very positive situation to be in, to be honest. Not at all. It's not very nice to be in such hardship and such poverty, you know, and such difficulty emotionally. It's very hard. It's very hard to deal with sometimes. Yeah, very challenging.
I wanted to find out more about what being homeless really means. So I went to a charity based in Westminster called The Passage. They help around 150 homeless people every day.
People that come to us in times of crisis, they are often broken. They are either running away from relationship breakdowns or from drug and alcohol situations. Sometimes people come to London because it is very, especially Westminster, very service rich, and they want to find a way out of homelessness. So the Passage will be their first port of call that they come to. If you listen to our clients, they will often tell you how they're spat on in the street, that they're kicked, that they're set on fire, that their belongings are taken from them. This is the most vulnerable of people in our society. These are the people that need our help and our support. They don't need to be treated with violence or disrespect. You know, they're just human beings at the end of the day.
Sometimes when you're sitting out on the street and there's a lot of people passing you by, sometimes you can feel like you're invisible, like nobody sees you, you know? And then sometimes you can get the opposite of that situation. You can get people looking at you like all the time, but all you seem to receive is like negative acknowledgement. You know, it just feels like negative social pressure. You know, like you shouldn't be there, like you didn't exist. Like maybe you're doing something wrong just to be there. You know, and yet you're not in control of the situation. You know, it's something out of your control. You know, made you homeless. And sometimes when you've got trouble like with money, not just housing or maybe other people, you've genuinely then got to turn to things that not everyday people would want to or would find maybe respectful or likable to do, you know, such as eating things that have been thrown out sometimes because you've got no money, you're in desperation, you're just hunger, you're not thinking about whether it's dirty or not, you're not thinking about whether it's been shared or eaten by somebody else, you're just hungry. See that? I mean, that's different. Some people would. I've seen some people would eat that. Or actually, thinking about it, sometimes, rather than see food like that go to waste, I stick a little bit of it on the ground for the pigeons, for the birds, you know? And sometimes that's just the simplest little pleasure in life, and people You don't realise. There's a lot of pigeons that live around here in the station, you know.
Hunger can sometimes be the least of their worries, when at dusk, it's hard to find a quiet and safe space to sleep.
Yeah, sleeping sometimes can be a great problem. Because not only just because of the cold and the weather, like over winter, sometimes you've got, obviously you're outside and you're by roads and streets. There's cars travelling around all the time, there's roadworks, there's people making noise. There's also sometimes when you're trying to get shelter in certain particular doorways, you've got people looking to move you on. You know, I've been spat at, I've been kicked, I've had things thrown at me, I've been called names, I've been pushed around, I've had things slapped out of my hands or other kind of hoaxing and tricks and like mockery thrown in my face for one reason or another. Maybe benefits get suspended, or you find out that maybe you've picked up an infection or an illness or some other kind of health problem because of sleeping outside. Your whole life can turn upside down and inside out in minutes. And you keep on trying to look forward and think that, you know, the housing lists aren't that long, the support workers are trying to do their best, life isn't really that bad, but sometimes you're just not interested in any of it. Sometimes it's just too much trouble to recognise and to think about and to deal with, because you just got to take care of you, you just got to think of you sometimes, you know. You have to just put like outside life and what's going on to one side. Just try to really put yourself first.
Over the past 7 years, there has been a drastic increase of homelessness in the country. Experts say that this is due to a reduction in services and benefits for the most vulnerable people in society.
As you know, Westminster has the highest number of rough sleepers in the country. I think the last street count, there was around 291 people sleeping rough on the streets of Westminster. So therefore, you know, numbers have increased. I think the situation around the benefits, the welfare reform has not helped with the introduction of universal credit and with people with the benefit caps, accommodation in short supply. So I think that's why we've seen an increase in numbers of rough sleeping, people that have not got access to jobs, that lose their jobs, automatically end up losing their accommodation eventually.
There used to be a lot of different services in this area at one time. There's been a great decline of certain particular services in this area, and it's greatly affected the social situation itself. It's made it harder to live and get by out here. So therefore it makes people's attitudes more negative towards the system, to try to relate and develop a good relationship with it, to support not only what the government's trying to provide for poor people, but also what the poor people themselves have to live when they're unable to independently provide for themselves.
People from all over the country migrate to Westminster looking for help, but only those with a local connection in Westminster are entitled to the services available.
For those that don't have a local connection, that will not be housed in Westminster, it's very hard to get them into rehab and detox, because a lot of the time it does come back to, and it's a sad situation as to who will pick up the bill, who will pick up the funding. So sometimes people are pushed from different boroughs because the funding's just not available for them. You know, these people are human beings and they deserve to be treated as human beings. They need to be empowered. They're not out there because they want to be on the streets. They want to be having a life the same as you and I. I think there's a lot of myths around homelessness that as a society we need to address. You know, people will say, oh, they're all involved in antisocial behaviour, they're all involved in drug and alcohol issues. That's not the case.
Yeah, desperate enough to beg sometimes for help. Sometimes you just find yourself doing it without realising. You know, it's like sometimes I sit here and my hands kind of like reaching out and I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute, what's going on? You got the police on one side saying like, you know, it's illegal, you could get arrested. You know, and then on the other side, it's like, we're not doing it to be criminal. We're doing it to survive and get by, because something in life has put us in that predicament and left us without that choice. And once we're trapped in that situation, it's very, very hard to get out.